Hello, everyone. Hello, can you hear me, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Golf on Tap. I am your host, Joey Ricotta, joined as always by my good friend Jack Bushman at Jack Bushman2. We are presented by OnTap Sportsnet. Go to the OnTap Sports Network and OnTapSportsNet.com to check out all your Chicago sports needs, wants, information, beer reviews. I don't know when's the last time we had a beer review. That was a kind of a random Cubs, Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, even the White Sox. And we have bets and we have golf. And Jack wrote, 3 articles in the span of like a day or two?
Grind.
You've been grinding. You've been locked in for what is the PGA Championship. First of all, Jack, it's good to be back. What a week to return. PGA Championship. First of all, crack them. It's a little bit symbolic, to be honest, too. Uinta Brewing from Salt Lake City. Picked it up on our trip. I mean, the messaging is pretty simple, Jack. How much are you into getting ready to break down this PGA Championship with me, my friend?
I'm excited for it, man. I've been really diving deep into research and Oak Hill Country Club and all the players at the top. Obviously, it's the strongest field in golf with this being a major championship, but I'm stoked. I'm excited for this thing to get underway tomorrow morning. Like I said, I've been doing a ton of work to try to get as much information in this old noggin of mine as possible to relay to all the listeners out here and hopefully help you and us together get an outright winner, because it has just been a putrid 2023 for your boy over here after tearing it up in the fall. It's been tough because I just haven't been picking Scotty Scheffler and Jon Rahm. And well, they've already combined for 6 wins this season. Are they going to go on and win again this week? It's obviously one of the bigger narratives. There are so many narratives, so many talking points for this week. I'm excited to dive into it all. And yeah, man, I think this is a really awesome course, a really awesome event. They've done a really good job in the last couple of years, I think, of making this more of a major championship feel, because kind of throughout the mid 2010s and even until like 2017, and yeah, I believe in 2017, Brooks Koepka won the PGA Championship at -16, and you usually don't see major championships won in, higher scoring events. You usually see the winning score in the single digits or reach 10 under at the highest, most cases. And the PGA Championship, I think, has done a really good job of making the PGA Championship more of like a US Open light, if you will, bringing in more challenging courses, making thicker rough, longer courses. I think it brings out the better product and is the true test for a major championship, where you have to have all facets of your game going and have to have all the tools to get around. So I like what the PGA of America has done in recent years, and it only has me more excited for this tournament on a really good course, Joey.
Well, that's encouraging to hear because, I don't know if you heard Rory's comments, Rory McIlroy, about not really liking and feeling like it's lacked or lost a little bit of its luster moving from, I think it was towards the fall and then moving to May now over the most recent years. I don't know. I don't think that's the case. Like maybe for Rory, it feels that way. I don't know. Maybe because it's so close to the Masters that it feels that way for Rory. Again, I don't have his, or not again, but I don't have his exact quote in front of me that I saw from him. But I don't know. It's encouraging that you're just as excited to talk about this. And yeah, I mean, the scores to me, like as I was looking at things, I feel like we're probably going to see like maybe between 5 and 9 under, probably winning score. And I like that. I like the challenging aspect of that. I mean, most of the majors, you see the lower scores like the Masters and, whatnot. But I don't know. Have you checked out weather so far, Jack? Have you looked at how the weather's, I think, what is it? Thursday and Friday. One of those days I think was supposed to be pretty windy or rainy. I'm not sure which one. Maybe it was Friday.
Yeah, as of right now, the weather honestly has been flipping like throughout the week, as it tends to do. But it seems like Thursday and Saturday are both going to be the colder of the 2 days, with rain perhaps coming on Saturday and maybe even Sunday now. But it does seem for sure that Thursday and Saturday morning, I mean, you're going to have to bundle up. It's going to be probably in the 40s when guys are going out there in the morning and teeing up. And on a beast of a course that demands distance and also accuracy at the same time, like, it's going to be tough for those guys to go out there in the mornings. And I know they had a practice round. It was either today or yesterday. Maybe it was both, actually. But the winds were gusting upwards of like 30 miles an hour, and it was just absolutely devastating out there. So if the wind is a factor, again, that's probably something you have to stay a little bit more up to date with, like check in tomorrow morning potentially. And if you're live betting anything or playing like daily fantasy sports, um, then yeah, that's definitely something to keep an eye on, because if the wind is going to be gusty, that's only going to add another factor to a course that already looks like it's going to play pretty difficult.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess we can get into that. I mean, this is it's Oak Hill Country Club, of course, par 70, just under 7,400 yards, established in 1901. Original design was Donald Ross, and you spoke about in your article major renovations done by Andrew Green in 2019, and will look a lot different than in years past. And it is Rochester, New York, and I'm glad you talked about how cold it's going to be, because I think that is one of the things that Rory pointed out was he probably wanted something more on the West Coast at this time of year. But yeah, 156 golfers, top 70 in ties move on after 2 rounds. And then the PGA Championship was here in 2013, but that was before the renovations. And then 2003, 1980 was before that. So 4th time total here. But tell me, Jack, like what are your main takeaways from maybe the renovations, or just what are you looking at overall when we look at this new old course, like old, well-renowned course that we're looking at?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting about the restoration process that was led by Andrew Green in 2019. The mentality and the thought process behind the restoration was to return Oak Hill Country Club to what it was originally designed to be when Donald Ross architected it back in the mid 1920s, opened for play in 1926. But that occurred, he architectured that course on mostly bare farmland. So there was a lot of open spaces and a lot of different angles. And just kind of over the last 70 years, there's been a lot of like growing landscape, and a bunch of trees obviously have popped up. That was kind of the key feature of Oak Hill and PGA Championships and US Opens in the past, right? Was you got tight tree lined fairways. And if you're wayward with the driver, you're probably screwed, because you're going to wind up behind a tree. You're not going to have a good angle. It's going to be a tough leave, and you're going to have to leave yourself, 150 yards just to get up and down for par. But now everything that you may have remembered about Oak Hill from the previous PGA Championships, most recently in 2013, that was won by Jason Duffner, you can basically throw that out the window for the most part. It is still going to be like a narrow type of course, but there aren't the trees that are going to be, littering the rough and all that stuff. There's been a removal of upwards of 600 trees at Oak Hill Country Club. So that's going to allow players to have different like sight lines and be able to take on different angles and shop shapes that were, not available when this tournament was last held here. So that's kind of one of the key change. Other than that, completely new contoured and kind of return them to the original ridgy styled bent grass greens. We've also seen the fairways be completely stripped, and I heard they were actually running pretty fast today, which for the guys who don't drive the ball as long, that's probably what you like to hear, and not necessarily a bomber's paradise. I personally think that's the way it's still going to play. But yeah, it's just a lot different. It's got 3 new holes. They've extended it over 250 yards. It's basically a brand new old version of what Donald Ross wanted this place to be back in the 1920s. But I've heard a lot of people in the golf community, Joey, kind of comparing this place to Bethpage Black and Wingfoot. That's where we saw Bryson DeChambeau kind of just go meaty Bryson and just hack everything out of the rough and drive the ball as far as he could. And he just lapped everyone in the US Open. And then Bethpage Black, another New York horse that we saw Brooks Koepka play a few years ago, that's very US Open styled, long rough, long course feels like you kind of need to have distance in order to get the job done. So it's a true major championship test. I mentioned earlier, all facets of the game, I think, are going to be needed in order to lift the Wanamaker trophy. And that's how it should be in terms of a major championship. So I'm really excited for it. I think it's going to be a true test of golf. You're going to have to be able to have all the tools in your bag in order to get around here. And I think that's, the best way to play major championships, not just favor, the bombers or the strong iron players or irons and putting. You got to have everything kind of going, it feels like, because you're not going to get around scot-free here. There's too much trouble. Pars are going to be good scores. So I think it's going to be an awesome course. I couldn't be more excited to see this thing in action come tomorrow morning.
Same. I think, around the green, it's going to be pretty important here.
Oh, yeah.
Scrambling. I mean, we talked about, I think you mentioned the fairways and being in the fairway roughs too. Shooting from those is going to be pretty difficult. I think you could find yourself in some trouble there. Smaller greens, should be tough to hit.
I think they're only like 4,500 square feet on average. So some of the small, I think they're fourth smallest on the PGA Tour. So long course, small greens, guys are going to be missing greens in regulation. You're going to have to scramble. You're gonna.
For sure, yeah. And that's something I had to look at for the research, because sometimes I think especially in the bombers type of courses, I think we tend to look at, approach, especially long irons, mid to long irons, and obviously long drivers, the bombers. But that might not be all it takes here. And bogey avoidance, of course. We tend to look at those just about every week, but very important here. Like, if you're going to be bogeying a lot, you might as well kiss yourself goodbye. Like, that's you're not going to be able to really make up ground in the second or third round, I don't think, if you start out very poorly. I mean, I could be wrong about that, but I think you're going to have to start out at least with maybe shooting par here that first day. But yeah, you talked about the golfers and who has what in their bag and the all-around guys and the Wanamaker Trophy. Let's talk about it. Defending champ, JT, Justin Thomas, 2021, Phil Mickelson, Morikawa in 2020, Brooks Koepka 2 years in a row, in 19 and in 18. But we've talked about how this is just a different place here. Storylines, headlines. What are you looking at here, Jack? Before we go ahead and talk about like the favorites and all that.
Yeah, some of the key ones that I think have been brought up just a ton this week. Obviously, it seems like it's like Scotty and John Rahm versus the entire world, since they've won 6 times combined this year, and 5 of them have been in designated events / major champions. So I think that's kind of like the key storyline. Are people gonna be willing to bet at the top of the board on numbers under 10-1 on Scotty Scheffler and John Rahm, who have been undoubtedly the 2 best golfers in the world so far this year? Or are we going to see, someone else from the rest of the pack rise up and maybe catch that first major championship? Someone like Xander Schauffele, someone like Patrick Cantlay. We know Justin Thomas obviously loves himself the PGA Championship. Could he go for a third in his career here this week? Jordan Spieth, who is dealing with a little bit of a wrist injury, obviously needs the PGA Championship to complete the career Grand Slam. And then for me personally, I think one of the more intriguing storylines is what to do with Rory McIlroy, because Joey, as you know, and frequent watchers of the show, I bet on Rory McIlroy an awful lot, and I can basically get him at 20-1 right now, which is just a number you don't see on Rory McIlroy. Can he overcome the struggles that he had at Augusta and at the Wells Fargo? Very rarely does he lose strokes on approach shots in 2 consecutive events. How is he going to respond to that? Are we going to see our first live golfer claim a major championship? There are so many storylines going into this week. Cameron Young, a New Yorker, everyone seems to be talking about him. Yeah, there's a bunch of narratives going around out there, and I think that only adds fuel to the fire of the excitement that is the second major championship of the season here.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned all these storylines, and I keep going back to
Mito.
Oh God, please, dear God. You remember last year? So that's what I was going to bring up. Last year we did the show.
I remember it very well, buddy.
Last year was.
I remember it so well. I remember exactly where I was when
Yes.
Mito, you want to hear a funny story? My car died. I left my headlights on in a parking garage as I took the train to the city. I came back on that Sunday. I'm like intensely watching on my phone. I go to start my car. It's dead. I'm in a parking garage. And there he is on 18, Mito Pereira. The one thing he can't do is hit it into the drink. And he hits it into the
God,
drink
dude.
with maybe the worst driver swing I saw out of him ever. It was awful. I don't know. Poor Mito, man. Poor Mito.
Well, and if I remember right too, his choice of club was not the greatest.
No, he could
Right?
have made bogey and still gotten to a playoff. He just had to par. He just had to par.
He completely he shit on himself.
And
That's what he did.
He didn't need to hit driver, and he hit driver. Is what happened.
He completely shit on himself, and I was screaming for Mito. And dude, I thought this was the time. I really, really thought Mito was going to pull it out. And I was like, I don't know what I got him at. I forget what I grabbed him at.
I remember talking about him on our research show or our final bet show like the day before. I remember like we talked about him, and then has a big Saturday, plays all of Sunday with the lead. And I'm like, no shit. Mito Pereira is about to win the PGA championship. Psych!
Dude, I was about to come on here and have the biggest party the next week. And then instead I had the biggest like rant probably. Don't even remember that next episode because I was probably way too pissed off to even like it was just a flash after that. But you talked about Rory. Now 20-1, that's a great freaking number. I want to know as many times as you bet him, Jack, if you win a 20-1, does that make up for any of the amounts of times? It's kind of like that's like your Jason Day, it seems like. Which, speaking of, we made it this far. Jack, it's Jason Day season. SZN.
Yeah,
Jason Day season.
How much money did you cash out on him, Joey?
We won't talk about that because I didn't bet him.
Good thing you bet Jason Day all fall.
Fuck! Sorry for yelling into your ears.
I'm happy for Jason Day, though. And it was a long time coming because he was playing really good. And it was the field to get it done. It was like very reminiscent of Justin Rose breaking through and snapping his win drought at the Pebble Beach against a pretty dog shit field. Jason Day did basically the same thing at the Byron Nelson this week. They should probably start giving some pointers to Ricky Fowler. That's how he can end his win drought. Is he just plays dog shit events, but he doesn't do it for whatever reason. But I'm happy for Jason Day. I got to give a quick shout out to your boy. 5 years to do it on Mother's Day after losing his mother.
Yeah.
Really cool to see Jason Day back in the winner's circle, man. I hope we see him there more often because golf's more fun when Jason Day's good.
It really is, man. And I loved he kind of had a video there too. And I'm glad you mentioned the mom thing too, because that is special for him to be able to do that on Mother's Day and finally break through. I mean, this guy had a ton of different nagging injuries and, it really messed up his game for a long time. And the signs were there. I've been screaming it from the rooftops since the season started that I thought this dude was close to back. And I was contending a lot. He just kind of like you've mentioned on past shows, the final round, he'd kind of fade away or he'd just kind of sit there stagnant in that kind of T15 to T8 range, something like that, and he wasn't quite there, but super cool to see him pull it out there last week at the Byron Nelson. And I don't know what I'm going to do with him this week, Jack, because I do like him. I just don't know back to back after that long. Like I'm going to be, this is going to be the time I'm going to lose more money on him after he won. I mean, I don't know, Jack. What are we, what do you say though? What do you think we get into? I think you talked about key stats. Did you want to kind of quickly wrap up the key stats though, even though we looked at the course?
Yeah, perfect. Some of the things that I've been looking at, I think driving distance. I talked about how I heard actually from an interview from Joel Damon on the course earlier this afternoon. He talked about how he was like playing. He's not known for his distance, by the way, for anyone who's not familiar with Joel Damon. He talked about how he kind of used this low runner in the fairway because they were playing a little bit more firm than I think people have been talking about leading up to this week. But at the same time, with the cold that's going to be coming in, I do think that's probably the smarter bet on Jason Day, by the way.
Yeah, I think it is. Thank you, Laz, for the comment. It says top 10 play on Jason. Hey,
smarter than we are. But I do think driving distance is going to be key, particularly on those colder days. It's a U.S. Open style track. That's how it's always been Bethpage Black, Bombers. Wingfoot, Bombers. Even Shinnecock Hills the year before, Bombers. Brooks Koepka also won that one. I do think driving distance is really going to play a factor. Like, obviously, I think accuracy is important here because while there aren't as many trees around anymore, you still want to be playing from the fairway with the rough being as long as it is. But if I had to pick one, I'd probably take distance over accuracy, but a combination of both is obviously ideal. Strokes gain approach, key stat each and every week on the PGA Tour. I do think you can kind of pair that up too with approach shots or proximity from over 175 and 200. The par fives here are absolute monsters, both over 600 yards. Nobody's going to be reaching them in two. A lot of the par fours, I believe 8 of them are over 450 yards, and 11 of the 12 play over 400. And then 2 of the par threes are up over 230 as well. So I think we're going to see a good amount of approach shots come from 175 plus 200 plus. So those are probably some stats to keep an eye on. You referenced bogey avoidance earlier. No one's going to get around Oak Hill scot-free, so you need to be able to scramble. You need to be able to get up and down, save your par. Around the green, I think those two stats kind of, go a little hand in hand, but it is really important on a course like this where birdies, there's just not birdie holes. Par is going to be a friendly score on a majority of them, so that's kind of all of the key stuff that I'm looking at for this week as far as the statistics and the type of player that I'm trying to put together when breaking this all down.
I love it. A lot of good stuff there. A lot of very good stuff there. Stuff we normally look at. I too, a lot of times I tend to weigh that accuracy a little bit higher than most. I think like there are certain courses for that in order to do that, but there's a lot of times where I do really weigh accuracy, and I kind of fall in love with some of those high accuracy guys for whatever reason. But this week I do agree with you. I think the Bombers are probably the way I'm leaning more so than anything, and then just a good all-around game outside of that. But with that said, favorite time of the show, when we start really getting into the nitty-gritty, talk about the breakdowns, you talk about the course, the headlines, last week, however long it's been since the last time we were on this show. But Jack, the favorites, let's get to the betting board. Scotty Scheffler, 7.5 to 1. I'm trying to find the best odds, and if these are not the best odds, someone in the comments, go to YouTube if you're on Twitter, shout it out in the comments and try to give us the best odds and the best price. And whoever might be listening to this later on or watching this, so that they can find the best price. But Scotty Scheffler, 7.5 to 1. Jon Rahm, 8.5 to 1. Rory McIlroy, 16 to 1, which you said you could pretty much get him at 20 to 1. I'm sure that's probably with some boost too, but there might be a better price out there, the 20 to 1. Xander, X going to give it to you, 18 to 1. 19 to 1 is Patrick Cantlay. We will stop there before we get to 20. Jack, is it Scotty? Is it Jon Rahm? Like what? I mean, it's one of those two, I would assume, but maybe not. I don't know. What are you doing here, Jack, at the top of the board?
I think I'm passing, and it terrifies me. I think I'm passing. It terrifies me. By the way, DraftKings is offering plus 300 on any outright bet that you want to make. That's how I could get Rory McIlroy, 19 to 1 for Rory McIlroy.
Yes, sir.
But before I get there, I will say, like, even using those boosts to get Scotty Scheffler at like 10 to 1 or Jon Rahm at 11 to 1 or whatever it is, I don't think those are bad odds. And for the most part, there are a lot of good odds out there right now. Man, it's hard not to pick these guys. Scotty Scheffler is just so good tee to green. It's actually unbelievable. And his scrambling is immaculate. He'll get up and down from everywhere. It's just whether or not he's going to be able to putt. That's literally it. That's literally it with Scotty Scheffler at this point because he's the best player in the world, tee to green. His scrambling is immaculate. I think he's third among all players in the field and around the green, or it's bogey avoidance. I forget exactly which statistic it is, but all around, until he has to putt, no doubt he's the best golfer in the world right now. One interesting thing I did kind of find this week, out of all of Scotty Scheffler's career victories, there's only been one that's happened on bent grass, and that was actually at the Masters, which is a little bit different type greens than you see basically anywhere else. They're the most contoured and the most ridgy. Scotty Scheffler has been mostly a Bermuda guy so far in his career, and look, I probably don't think that's going to really make a difference to Scotty Scheffler. He's either going to putt well or he's not. And that's probably going to be the difference between him winning this tournament. But when you're trying to make decisions like this out of the top of the betting board, and all five of the guys you just mentioned, I personally really like, and I think they're well deserved to be the top five favorites here. I just think you're looking for small things to maybe steer you in another direction. And the putting for me is personally enough to get away from Scotty. I will say if this was, if we were playing DFS, I think Scotty Scheffler's the play because his floor in major championships is like a T13. Like he can lose at the Masters. He lost like 4 or 5 strokes putting and finished like T11. That's unfathomable
Jeez.
and is an example of how good of a tee to green player he is. I'm probably just not going to get there this week. Rahm absolutely scares the crap out of me. I think the main reason why I'm not going to get to these guys, though, and maybe this is me just continuing to be a loser because it hasn't worked for me in 2023 so far, they're just guys that I like a little, maybe not even more, but at just better numbers, basically triple the value or more of that. I like those guys a little bit more. So that's the way that I'm going to go. I don't feel great in particular about passing up Scotty Scheffler and John Rahm. But I am going to get some action. I already have the bet made on Xander Schauffele. He was the first bet that I made this week, 20-1. He's just playing.
Okay.
He's playing so good right now, Joey. So good. I think he's been the best of any player on the PGA Tour this year that hasn't picked up a victory. He was solo second at the Wells Fargo, and he didn't bring his best on Sunday, but Wyndham Clark was just absolutely lights out that entire tournament. I don't even know if Xander at his best would have been able to chase down Wyndham Clark that day. But the consistency has just been immaculate. 5 consecutive top tens. He's been on a roll. He's doing it also in, I think, a very impressive way, which might be most important to me, is that he's been spectacular in all categories. He's gained on the putting surface and with his approach shots in 11 consecutive starts, off the tee in 9 of his last 12. Around the green play has been just fine as well. He's been as steady in all 4 categories as anyone in the entire world. So I really like that Xander has that feel in all parts of his game right now, and it has been clicking as of late. He just, prior to the Wells Fargo, he carried Patrick Cantlay at the Zurich Classic to a T4. He was solo 4th at the RBC Heritage. He's been knocking on the door for quite some time, and while he doesn't have a major championship yet, he kind of has a I don't want to say sneaky major pedigree, because people do know that he has some high-end finishes, but I feel like it doesn't get talked about enough, and people kind of don't want to use Xander in major championships because he hasn't won one yet. And I feel like his game is in as good of a spot as ever to get the job done this week. I know a lot of people are kind of starring LA Country Club in his home state as the place for him to break through for his first major championship, but I really think he can get it done this week. I love Xander and his consistency. I'm taking him. Love to see it, Laz. Let's ride the X-Man. X gonna give it to you.
Yeah, someone agrees with you. Laz agrees with you. I love it.
I love to see it. Patrick Cantlay, I do think, is playing remarkable golf as well. I think I have to choose between Xander and Cantlay, and I'm going to go with Xander. And you know me, being the Rory McIlroy sucker that I am, 19-1. Are you kidding me?
That's a great number.
It's
great
amazing.
number.
It's amazing. It's an amazing number for Rory. It's an amazing number on a course that should be friendly to drivers. Nobody hits it longer than Rory McIlroy. Nobody can take advantage of their driver better than Rory. He's got good club head speed, which should help him out of the thick rough. And on courses like this, he's done really well in his career. High-end finish at Bethpage Black, high-end finish at Wingfoot. These types of courses have really suited his eye. And in fact, Joey, this is where he's actually started practicing over the years. This has kind of been his little home course. So somewhere where he's very comfortable. I know he hasn't been good as of late, but he's had multiple instances throughout his career where he's looked lost and then gone out and won. He actually did it in his first career victory at the Wells Fargo Championship all those years ago. But I don't think, obviously, it's easy to say no to Rory when he's been so bad as of late, but as someone who believes in his game and is a big backer, seeing a 19-1, I don't know how I don't take that. So I have X locked in. Rory's starred as of now. I only have like 2 guys to make a decision on. He's one of them. Xander's locked in, though, at this point, Joey. Let me know what you're thinking about the top of the board here. I know it's usually not your bread and butter, but what do you got for me?
It's not usually, but
But
I can't not do it lately. Like it's just this is the Masters. I did get the outright there with John Rahm, which made me feel great. And then now it's like I kind of feel like flip flopping a little bit, like just flip it over. Now let's go to the guy who keeps winning outside of John Rahm. Let's go to Scotty Scheffler. So the guy that scares you, or two of the guys that scare you the most, I'm going to take one of them. I'm going to take Scotty, and I am going to boost him up there, that plus 300, and go to 10-1. Or that's what I already did, I should say. He competes in every major. I mean, that's really what it is. I mean, he's great at everything. If I'm betting one of the two, it's flipping it over now and flipping the coin back over near the top in just about everything. I mean, you talked about some of his stats there. Recent performances, they speak for themselves. But he's first in the following areas, Jack: bogey avoidance, strokes gained off the tee, strokes gained tee to green, par 4 scoring average, greens and regulation rate. And those aren't even counting the top 5 and top 10 stat rankings for a ton of other areas of his game right now. So, yeah, I mean, I feel like I have to do it and just going to bite the bullet at 10-1. Rory, I get it. I feel like for you kind of have to at this point. It's kind of that is your Jason Day. And I mean, I know he's starred and you haven't quite pulled the trigger on it, but there's really nothing for me not to bet John Rahm also. Like there's no reason for me not to. It's just if I'm going to pick one or the other, I'm going to go with Scotty. Rory, I do not feel that super confident in him right now. And those comments kind of irked me a little bit. And maybe I'm reading too much into that because, that's exactly the type of thing that I will do is I will read into some comment and the tournament will take place and this guy's like completely ready and jacked up. And it's like, that's the dumbest thing in the world. Like, he's just talking. You know what I mean? Like you're not playing. You're not basing it off of anything with performance, which, yes, he hasn't been that great lately. So that is basing it off of performance. But the number, I do love that number, Jack. And if you're boosting it up, definitely like the thought process there. Xander was one that I'm glad that you mentioned him. And I feel great that you and Laz are both locked in on him because he's somebody like you have with Rory. He's a star right now for me. Perfect course for him from a fit perspective, I think, factoring in the short game and the approach. But you talked about how we want guys that are very well-rounded here. And, you need guys that are going to be really good in certain categories and excel in certain categories, but down the line, be good or decent enough, hold water in some of those categories. And I think Xander's exactly the type of guy that you're looking for. From that type of modeling standpoint. So I don't know. I mean, I could easily see him. I think top 10, if we're talking Jason Day and Xander, I don't know what his odds are. I'm assuming that they might even be like minus something for a top 10, but I think top 10, I'm definitely considering that too. So outside of that, man, the top of the board is kind of, I mean, we pretty much went through them all, but I'm not on Cantlay. I just can't get there. Looking past here to that 20-1 range, 22-1 is Brooks Koepka, Tony Finau 22-1, Dustin Johnson is 30-1, my boy Jason Day is 30-1, and then I don't know what to do with Day. I'll just say that I really don't know what to do with him coming off the victory. I would have rather him not won last week and finish second or third or top 5, and I absolutely would have bet him again this week. Brooks and Finau and DJ, this is where I'm so lost and don't know what to do because I want to bet one of these guys. Jack, talk to me. Where are you at? Are you betting any one of those?
Yeah, I'm already locked in on Brooks. I'm all in on Brooks this week, and it just feels like for the first time in 2 years, it's all right in front of him. He's healthy. He's playing good golf. It feels like he's finally settled in with the decision. We've heard, in recent months, there were maybe some rumblings that he had buyer's remorse. And maybe he was kind of regretting life on the Live Golf Invitational Series. I don't know. Maybe that's not true whatsoever, but it's clear what we've seen out of Brooks in the last 3 weeks. And look, maybe that's not a big enough sample size for you to firmly believe that he's back. But I know what this guy has done. And when he's rolling and firing on all cylinders on a course like this in New York, where he's already won 2 majors on very similar venues, I don't know how I can pass him up at 22-1. He's a big game hunter, self-proclaimed even. He talks all the time about how all he cares about at the end of the day in terms of his legacy is what he did in the majors. He gears himself up for these tournaments and takes himself to a different level. And just to see him finally play well early this season on the Live Golf Invitational Series, and then, he breaks through and nearly takes down the Masters, leading that tournament for 3 rounds until kind of a poor showing on the final day and gets outgunned by, the number 1 player in the world. It's going to happen sometimes. But I think Brooks is back in the right mindset, back in the right frame. His game has been spectacular. He's been phenomenal over for Live. He's got 3 top 10 finishes in a row, and he's talked about how he feels like his game is in the right form. And I just think we've seen what happens on these types of courses. Brooks is able to get around and use his driver and his ability to get the ball out of thick rough to his advantage. And he's quietly a good putter. And, we don't get strokes gain data from Live Golf's tournaments, but the high-end finishes and seeing what he did at the Masters, to me, that says he's locked and loaded and ready to go. I'm all in on Brooks Koepka this week. It's probably my favorite bet. I really do think a 22-1 number on this type of course in a state where he's won 2 majors. This is the type of course where we've heard Brooks in the past say, I think there are only 12 guys who can win it. And quite honestly, probably not 12, but I think this might be a course where that statement might be true. And Brooks is certainly one of those guys. So I really do like Brooks a lot this week at 22-1. The other guys I do think are interesting as well. I don't necessarily love the number behind Finau. I know he's won 4 times since the PGA Championship last year, but 22-1 is a little absurd to me. And I get how good his game is. And this is coming from someone who loves Tony Finau.
I was going to say, you're like the Finau guy most of the time. But to
give him the same number as Brooks Koepka is it's kind of fucked up. Tony Finau's won the Mexico Open, the 3M Open. He's won basically one big event in his entire career, and you have him as shorter odds to Dustin Johnson is the same as Brooks Koepka. I'm just not going to be able to get there on Finau this week. DJ is the other interesting one. You can go first. Continue. I've been rambling.
No, it's just I don't think it's as terrible of a number as it looks like. Just given the way that everybody, we've all thought when's Tony's time. So yeah, he hasn't done anything in the big events. I think it's kind of only a matter of time now where he does something in the big events now that he's gotten the monkey off his back and getting some wins, right? So, and he's playing really well, I think, for the most part.
Unreal.
He's a guy that's across the board, right? He's one of those across the board dudes. But quickly, that's why I'm so stuck here because I think that Brooks, he proved me wrong at the Masters. I didn't think his head was going to be completely in it because I thought he was going – I knew he was big game hunting there. I thought he was going to put too much pressure on himself, which final round turned out to be true, right? But throughout that tournament, he came out guns a-blazing. The first 3 rounds or whatever it was, he was guns a-blazing. He was on point. And that's one of the reasons where, those 2 guys I'm having a really difficult time with. Day I'm off of just because of the last week win. And yeah, it's tough for me to do that. I can't see. I think he was very much relishing last week.
I also saw that Jason Day did not have any practice rounds on Oak Hill.
He didn't. No. Yeah.
That's not
you're
good.
right.
Probably not good.
The first time he walked the course, I think, was today or
Probably
something, whatever he did.
Wise, if I had to guess.
I don't think so. Before a major, no. But you were about to talk about DJ, and the reason why I would get on DJ is because he's such a freaking bomber. I mean, and he's got the major championship pedigree. So I don't know, man. What are your thoughts on DJ here?
Yeah, I basically have the same feel. I think DJ can ball strike and drive his way around this place like few others can if he has his game rolling the right way. He just won in Tulsa last week, beat Cameron Smith in a playoff, 30-1. Like it feels like a really good number. And I know DJ's 38 and winning live events doesn't necessarily give you that same feel, but he is still beating, like, sure, it's not the deepest field over there, but there's talent over on live golf. There's no denying that. And for him to have won twice now since moving over there, had an okay showing at the Masters, not great, was decent. I don't love DJ, but I respect and know and am fully aware of the type of game that he can play. And to see him at 30-1, it feels like a really good number. So we'll see if I end up getting there. It's mostly down to, am I going to bet Rory or am I going to bet someone from this range in these 30s and 40s? That's kind of where my last decision lies.
Okay, so I'm interested to see, because I know you have at least one other bet locked in, right?
Yeah, I got two other bets locked in as of this point.
Okay, so we'll see what you
I
have
Brooks
here.
and Xander locked.
Brooks and Xander are locked. Yeah, I know you said Brooks was one of your favorites, and then Xander near the top. But that makes sense, though, if you're not getting to too many near the top. But at the same time, like, I'm having a hard time seeing it go past, like, the long shot odds where I usually love picking from. Just haven't been there this year. And really for maybe since bleeding into last year at this point, or last season. Anyways, as we continue to look here, Cam Young, you mentioned him as being one of the headliners or one of the main narratives here. 33-1. Justin Thomas 33-1. I mean, I'm not the Justin Thomas whisperer. Like, I don't know when he's going. I never know when it's Justin Thomas's time. But PGA Championship feels like that could be a Justin Thomas time, as he's done it in the past. Matthew Fitzpatrick, 34-1. Cam Smith, 35-1. Colin Morikawa, that price seems really good, though, 35-1 for what he could do. Victor Hovland is 35-1. I don't want to go too far, but Sungjae Im is 36-1, and he seems like a great course fit. Jack, maybe you have somebody here. What are you thinking?
Yeah, this range is really interesting to me. I'm going to pass on Cam Young. I love the driver, and I think that really could help him this week. I do have concerns about his short game holding up for 4 days on this type of course. You referenced Justin Thomas. I mean, Mr. PGA Championship, darn near 33-1. Like this is where I reference, and I know Tony Finau has been a lot better than Justin Thomas. But you're telling me you can get Finau at 22 and Justin Thomas at 33?
Right, that's not right.
Matthew Fitzpatrick at 34. These guys won majors last year. Tony Finau's won the Mexico Open. What the fuck are we talking about? That's where I have the number issue with Tony Finau. Is when
I get what you're saying now.
The guy
yeah.
after him, Cameron Smith, the guy won the last major of last year and won the Players Championship, 35-1. Like, that's where I have the issue with Tony Finau's number, and I like a lot of guys in these ranges. The first one that really stood out to me, Cam Smith, 40-1 earlier in the week. I locked that in the second that I saw it. And even he kind of said so himself that the start of 2023 didn't really get off to the best start. And maybe he relished in getting the guaranteed money from Live and winning the Open and winning in Chicago last year, winning the LIV Chicago event. Didn't get off to the best start in 2023 and maybe wasn't grinding as hard as he should be, but we've seen him get back into the form these last couple of weeks. He did gain in 3 of the 4 major categories at Augusta National. And then since then, he's followed that up with 3 consecutive top 10s over on Live, lost out in the playoff to Dustin Johnson in Tulsa this past week. I think Cameron Smith isn't that far removed from being quietly maybe the best golfer in the entire world when he was on that stretch last summer. And we know he's got maybe the best short game in the entire world as well. The guy can get up and down from anywhere. He has the ability to scramble from being in terrible spots. The one kind of concern about Cam Smith, and it's always kind of been this throughout his career, has been the driving accuracy. But I feel like on this course, with the trees gone and a little bit more freedom to maneuver around, it's not going to be as penal to him this time. So I think Cam Smith, just 40-1 for a guy that won a major last, July? Not all that long ago.
Yeah.
I think that's just too good of a number for me to simply pass up. So I had to jump on Cam Smith. The other kind of one that I'm really thinking about this range is Sung Jae Im, who my only concern is the distance. He's kind of like Colin Morikawa in a sense where he hits a ton of fairways, but isn't one of the longer players on the tour, but does have that complete package of all four skills in order to get the job done here. Just won over in Korea last week, which take that for what you will. I think he was like a plus 300 favorite. So essentially the same as like Rahm winning Mexico. But Sungjae has been playing good golf. It's just frustrating with him because you don't get those outright wins. I think he's won twice so far in his PGA Tour career. It feels like this is a really good course for him, and we know he has the game to hang around, but can he actually win? That's the tough question I find myself asking right now. So I only have Cam Smith locked in, but I think Sungjae is the other intriguing option to me here. I do think JT is a really good number. I think those Morikawa and Hovland numbers are fair too. I'm just not going to bet on Victor Hovland until he wins. It's just, I'm not going to do it. I've seen him gag away on Sundays far too much. And Morikawa is just absolutely lost with the short game. I mean, I could probably go out there just as good as he can. He's absolutely lost. Look, would I be surprised if Colin Morikawa pieced it together one week and hung in there? No, but I can't. I'm so wrong on him all the time. So maybe it is the time to bet him, but I'm just going to leave it alone. I don't think he has the distance to get it done this week. I don't think his short game can hang up for 4 rounds. Even if it does hang up for the first 2, I have a feeling in my gut he'll piss it away sometime on Saturday or Sunday. So, yeah, not going to be on Morikawa this week. It's probably just Cam Smith and maybe one other from here. What do you got?
That's my boy, Cam Smith. You love you some Sungjae Im, by the way. Holy shit.
I'm a fucking sucker, dude.
You are for Sungjae Im. And I get it. I mean, he's great all around. That's the same concerns you have. Can he actually do it?
Yeah.
I don't have that belief now. It's kind of like Victor Hovland. Show me first. I'm going to let everyone else lose money on both of those guys.
I wouldn't even feel bad about missing out on Victor's first win. I wouldn't.
I wouldn't either at this point.
To be honest, I don't bet them that frequently, so it's not going to hurt me. I'd be sad I don't have the winner, yeah, but it's not going to be like Corey Connors winning the fucking Valero. I'm like, what am I doing?
Right, like last week for me, Jason Day winning, and I wasn't betting him. That's my pain. Yeah, I'm the same way with Cam Young though. I never really bet him. I do once in a while bet Sungjae Im and Victor Hovland. Just depends on tournament, course, and the field. But I'm gonna let someone else do it here. You got to prove it to me somewhere else before I can trust you here. That's kind of how I feel with those guys, especially if you're giving me these numbers. It's kind of the same situation where I don't think they belong in this same type of grouping. Yes, maybe compared to the field, but there's some guys that are a little bit further that I think one that's really disrespectful, and then one that you're betting already that's in this range, Cam Smith, that I'm also betting at 35-1. Like I said, on him last year, his first major at the Open, and got that. And then he had a great season. 3 total tour wins. Competitive at the PGA Championship last year, T13. You talked about the short game, right up there with the best of them with approach, too. He's got a great approach. Not the longest hitter in the world, but I like his game for this spot. I really do. I think Cam Smith is one of those dudes that can pull it out in this range. So definitely riding with you there on that 35-1 number. As far as anyone else in this range, yeah, I don't know. I can't really do it. I like Morikawa a lot, and I will get there on a certain approach weeks, especially when you really need the really good iron play. And you're going to need it this week. There's no doubt about it. But when that short game, I mean, I don't trust him to chip. I just don't trust him in this spot at this event where we talked about around the green could be major here. I just don't trust it. So not going to get there. 40-1. I guess I'll lead this off because I'm going to stop before we get to the guy that's going for. We know what he's going for. You talked about it at the top of the show, and I won't mention his name yet. Max Homa, though, 40-1. I am on Max Homa this week, and I see it here in the comments from Laz, who said, give me a longer shot that should be in the end, should be in it at the end, maybe a Matthew Fitzpatrick or a Max Homa, which we just got done talking about Matthew Fitzpatrick. I mean, he's kind of under the radar there in that range. I don't hate that either. But Max Homa is my dude. I think, over here. I mean, you're going to give me the number 6 golfer in the world 40-1 because he hasn't won a major? Or, like, Jack, what's really the reason? If you look at Homa across the board, he's great, drives the ball well, he's good on approach. I mean, he could putt with the best of them, he could scramble. T8 most recently at Wells Fargo, to me, that kind of indicates he's back after a couple missed cuts at the Masters, which I was a little bit worried about. But maybe he was a little bit hard on himself after that major too, and that could be the case. I think he's ready. He's geared up, and he's one of the best in the world when he's on his game. So 40-1 Max Homa definitely has my interest, Jack. Are you on Homa, or should we look ahead to Spieth, or what are your kind of thoughts there about Homa?
Yeah, I actually think it's a really, really fair number on Max Homa. I guess I do get it with the back-to-back missed cuts prior to the T8 at the Wells Fargo, a tournament that he's won before and has always played very well. And then to go along with the struggles that he's had in his career with majors, I get it. I do personally think this course fits pretty well for him. I just like a little more proven players a bit more than Max Homa, but he was someone who I thought about getting to because I could get him in here at 40-1. I don't know. I think I'd just like to see him contend in a major championship before he actually goes out and wins one, but I don't hate the play whatsoever. I think it's really good value if you were going to take a chance on Homa.
Yeah, no, I definitely get that, though, wanting to see it from him in the majors, because he hasn't been that competitive. He just hasn't, and that's the truth of the matter. I think he's got all the talent, and we know that at this point. But all right, Jordan Spieth. He's also he's 45-1. Like, this dude, talk to me. Talk to me. We're gonna stop with Jordan Spieth because I bet him last year, and I want to do it again, but that wrist scares me. He's gonna play. He is gonna golf. What are we doing with Jordan Spieth?
Yeah, I'm going to pass on Jordan Spieth this week. And I love betting Spieth, and I think I bet him last year at the PGA Championship as well. Concerns about the wrist injury, and I know he was playing great golf prior to that. I don't really have a reason not to bet Jordan Spieth other than the wrist injury. Like that's really it to me. It's a fantastic number. If you want to gamble on Jordan Spieth, an amazing number for him to get the career Grand Slam. I just don't think I'm going to get there this week with me personally. I don't know if I can trust his putter for all 4 days. It concerns me in terms of actually getting the win. Should have won the RBC Heritage if he could have made some putts, missed like 2 to win it by each like half a roll. Yeah, that's really all I got on Spieth. He was playing immaculate golf prior to suffering the injury. Yeah, I'm just going to pass on him.
I'm doing the same. It's the rest for me too. That's really it.
That's it.
I want him to win.
It'll be fun.
Which would kind of suck though if he wins and we don't bet him, but it is what it is. You gotta take your stances. You gotta lay in your own bed. This is the bed. I'm making the bed and I'm laying in it. I'm not gonna bet Jordan Spieth here because I don't think that he's going to win. Tyrrell Hatton, that's your boy. Not really, but 46-1. He makes a lot of sense here, just from a fit side of things. Sam Burns 60-1, Ricky Fowler 66-1, Hideki 70-1, and then Tommy Fleetwood is 75-1. One of the guys we talked about pre-show is grouped in there with Taylor Gooch at 80-1 is Wyndham Clark 80-1, who's been red hot, it seems like, lately. Just got a win recently. So, Jack, what are you thinking with from Tyrrell Hatton to Wyndham Clark?
Yeah, I kind of do like this range. And Laz was asking earlier for some long shots that could hang in there. I think there's a couple of guys right here that can hang in there. First off, Tyrrell Hatton, who I did bet last week, oddly enough. Don't really ever do that, but he is just playing so good right now. It's actually ridiculous. And I don't know if I can actually get there for him to win the tournament, but 46-1 is a really good number. I would not be surprised if Tyrrell hadn't finished like T4 at the tournament this week. I think he has the full package, all 4 categories going very well right now, plays well in cold conditions. So We'll see. I think Hatton can be in the mix. Sam Burns 60-1 is just such a disrespectful number. They continue to throw shade at Sam Burns on these betting books because 60-1 is like very valid. He's kind of similar to Max Homa, where he doesn't quite have that major pedigree yet. But I think that's a really good number for Sam Burns. And as fucked up as it is, I really like Ricky. It's so fucked up, but Ricky's been so good. Ricky's been so good. I'm for sure going to take Ricky top 20 because he's been so steady. He's been literally like Xander Schauffele-esque since 2023. He hasn't missed a cut since like October. He's got top 20s in 9 of his last 10 starts. And the way he's doing it, Joey, is unbelievable. Off the tee is like the one shaky area. Other than that, been dynamite with the putter, dynamite with his irons. Around the green has been reliable. And one thing that I think people don't really talk about enough with Ricky is he's quietly a bomber. Ricky is inside the top 40 on the PGA Tour in driving distance this year. That should help him out this week. Listen, I know it's Ricky. He hasn't won since 2019 at the Waste Management Phoenix Open, and odds are he's not going to take down the best in the world to win this tournament. But this is very, very Jason Day-esque, Joey.
I just was going to say that. You're saying all the things that I was saying about it's the way he's doing it. This is 100%. Go ahead. Finish your thought, though.
Yeah, except I'm not a fucking idiot and bet Ricky Fowler every week.
Okay, but you just decide to bet him in one of the most important tournaments of the year.
He's been good in the PGA Championship. He's actually been good. He's been good in no other majors for the most part, kind of Masters. The PGA Championship, he's actually been steady. He's only missed the cut.
I'll give you that. That's true.
In the last 5 years, despite his consistency issues, he's found a way to get it done at the PGA Championship. And funny enough, that kind of started to happen when the PGA Championship switched to more U.S. Open style courses. So I think Ricky's comfortable here. Look, am I an idiot? 99.9% chance of yes. But I think I'm going to have some Ricky Fowler on my card at some point because he's playing too darn good. He should just go play the RBC Canadian Open. Go play some scrub events and win. Ricky, your game's good enough to do it. You just play in designated events where John Rahm and Scotty Scheffler win. There's nothing you could do about that.
It's like he got the same idea as Brooks, though. He's just like headhunting for like bigger tournaments. It's like not all majors, but like the elevated events because he has to, of course, too. But
sometimes Ricky needs to take a long look in the mirror and realize who he is at this point in time. Yeah, I know you're on the State Farm and All-State commercials or whatever it is. You're on TV all the time. People still love you despite this 4-year win drought. But go play in the AT&T Pebble Beach. Go play in the Byron Nelson. That was a terrible field last week. I still can't believe Scotty Scheffler didn't win. But look, I think Ricky's winning this year. He's been too good.
What was the sponsor that was it? Rocket Mortgage?
Yeah.
Wasn't he doing
that one? He should win that one because no one will play there.
Yeah, so there we go. There we found his scrub event then maybe.
I'm just gonna write it down right now. Ricky Fowler, one and done. Rocket Mortgage.
There we go. Oh, so that's bullshit though, because you're taking you got first pick though because you're way up in the standings. We'll get there too. No, you make a lot of great points about Ricky. You really do. I do think you're a bozo for doing it. Not going to lie, because I don't think it's going to happen. But the reasoning behind it, yeah, I'm with you. It's not like he can't compete, especially in fields like this. We know he can if he's right. And he seems to be somewhat back. It's been trending this way kind of for a while, at least this season. So, yeah, I mean – I've seen crazier things. I've done crazier things, Jack. I can't really throw shade your direction about this, even though I will just give you a little shit just because I'm not doing it. But Adam Scott, 90-1. Gary Woodland, 90-1. Joaquin Neiman, 90-1. And then we had someone asking here in the chat, Laz, about Thigala. Any Thigala love? He's 90-1. Before we get to kind of the Bombers, 100-1 and up. You got any love for Thigala or anybody in here?
Before we get there, I didn't mean to do my boy Wyndham Clark dirty. I do think he's another guy from that range that can absolutely hang with the big dogs, drives the ball a long way, has been literally one of the top iron players in the entire world as of late, broke through and won a designated event against, the best players in the world as well a couple weeks ago. Wouldn't be
How
surprised if Wyndham Clark hung in there.
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit pre-show, but how pissed were you that you were basically a week early on Wyndham Clark? Like a lot of people were. It seemed because they weren't on him for his win, but the 1 week that you were on him at the Mexico Open, he did not get it done, but then he did get it done, and so it's like, fuck, you were onto something though. He has been golfing very well.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you why Wyndham Clark deserves to win that Wells Fargo Championship, Joey. Because on the front nine of Thursday, by the way, I should set this up. I used Wyndham Clark as my one and done in Mexico against you. You used Nikolai Højgaard. Front nine of Thursday's round, I believe Wyndham Clark was 3 or 4 over. And a lot of guys in that situation, look, you're in a scrummy field in Mexico. You can withdraw and go bull on the beach for 4 days. You have a designated event coming up next week, chance to make a bunch of that money back. No worries.
Just pack it in, right?
Wyndham Clark grinds his way back, makes a 12-footer on 18 on Friday to make the cut, comes through, ends up finishing T24. I was disappointed, and I know a lot of people were because they bet him in Mexico, but then he follows that up by going and winning the next week at the Wells Fargo. So I thought that was just kind of a cool little moment there for Wyndham Clark. And I think this guy, like this, I don't want to say household name, but this could become someone that a lot of people get to know because I think he has the game that should suit well at major championships in the more difficult tournaments. So I do think he is someone to keep an eye on. But as far as Thigala, as we start to get down to these 90 and 100 range, this is really where I start to draw the line, Joey, and it probably should honestly start a little sooner, probably. I think Thigala is just too volatile. He makes so many bogeys and he has the ability to go out there and make birdies. I just don't know how many of those opportunities he's truly going to get on a course like this. And we see Sahith make a lot of bogeys on courses that are not even as close to difficult as this. So I just worry that he's not going to be able to make enough back, if you know what I mean, because there aren't holes where you say, oh, yeah, I can go pencil that in as a birdie. Oh, this is a par 5. That's going to be a birdie. Well, it turns out it's 630 yards to get there, so it's not exactly a guaranteed 4. Those are kind of my concerns with Thigala a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not really a Thigala guy. I never really am. The way I bet, I just don't bet him, I guess, is what I mean. I just, Tom Kim, good. Surprisingly, we talk about accuracy all the time, but his distance from what I've been looking at lately has not been, it's kind of been up there, not super high, but he's been a guy that's maybe been improving his distance a little bit over as the season goes. And I could be wrong about that, but that's what it feels like just from looking at his numbers. There's a couple guys that as we look down here too that your boys are in this range.
Yeah, this is my boys' range.
Your real boys' range. Keegan Bradley, Corey Connors, all 101 plus. Russell Henley, I don't know. I'm seeing some models that really like Russell Henley this week.
I always love Russell Henley.
They do. And you know what? Shane Lowry is another guy that has that upside. There's a few of them in this range. We're not going with Mito. We're just not doing that. We're not going with Bryson. We're not doing that. Siwoo Kim, I don't know, man. Anything else you see kind of here? I mean, I'm really not going super low. I don't even really have a long shot at this point yet. If I had a long shot, you know what? Honestly, I'm going way down the board, over 300 to 1 for my long shot. That's it.
I love it. There are names here, and I think good values here. Probably not guys I'll get to. I think Joaquin Niemann, 90 to 1, is really good value for a guy that's straight and long. Tom Kim, you referenced, that is correct. He has been getting a little longer, and I think one thing that we should keep in mind is this kid's only 20 years old. Naturally, when you're going through your early 20s, you're still growing and you're still getting a little bit stronger, and that's a big maturation process for a human being. So I would not be surprised to see Tom Kim, when he's 23, 24 years old, be poking the ball pretty good. It's just going to be a little bit of a process for him because he's so young. That's kind of my concern with him this week. I love Tom Kim. I love Keegan Bradley in the Northeast, baby. Keegan always plays well in the Northeast. Might get to him in a top 20 market because I think he really does want to play well here. I think Patrick Reed 110 to 1's a very good number. A guy
That
who played
is
sneaky well at the Masters, and despite like not being long, he's basically Cameron Smith. Honest to God, Patrick Reed is basically Cameron Smith. Like not very good off the tee, but can get out of any predicament ever. He could be
I
behind
like that
20
comp a
trees and
lot,
he's going to
actually.
stop at 80 yards in the air and make a par. Like he has that type of game. So I think 110 to 1's a pretty decent number. You mentioned my boy Siwoo, who nearly took down the Byron Nelson last week. Not going to get there. 160 to 1 on Bryson. I'm not going to get to that either because he's still been dog shit. But if there were ever a course for Bryson to figure it out,
bomb it. And
it's this week. It's basically, I mean, it's probably not going to play the exact same as Winged Foot, but it sounds like it could. There were a course for Bryson to figure it out at 160 to 1, really good number this week. But there's honestly only one or two guys, one bet that I have made and another that I think is intriguing. But yeah, other than that, I'm probably going to be a passer on most of these guys. Who has your intrigue down here before I get into my two?
That's pretty much it. Are you talking about like over 200 to 1 or like in this range? Because
anyone else. You got any other names for me that interest you or that that you're actually going to consider betting at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I like the comp you made for Patrick Reed with Cam Smith, and if that's the case, and I do really like that comp, Patrick Reed definitely intrigues me here. Haven't done it, not sure if I'm gonna do it still, but I'm thinking about Patrick Reed there. But Bombers, you want to talk Bombers? Now the rest of his game, who the fuck knows what you're gonna get? Keith Mitchell can bomb it.
He can.
Keith Mitchell, we do not target him in some of those accuracy-driven type of courses most of the time, but we do like to target him in some of the bomber courses. Could he heat it up this week? 250 to 1. That's a large number for Mr. Keith Mitchell. I see that, and I'm like, all right, my ears start ringing a little bit. Like, what did you say? Like, I think that's a really good price, and I might just sprinkle a little $5 bill on it. You know, nothing crazy. Not even going to put a unit number on it. I think $5 is probably as far as I'll go, but I like Keith Mitchell. Nikolai Hogard is kind of interesting, but do I really see that happening? No. 300 to 1? He can. 300 to 1's crazy, too, for a guy with potential. There's one guy, though. Well, there's two, but realistically, there's just one. Kurt Kitayama. Now, I know this has kind of been this is a dude that you've been talking about quite a bit on the show, and he's kind of close to Taylor Montgomery. Actually, same odds, 350 to 1 as Taylor Montgomery, who I really like a lot, but I don't like him for this course. Kurt Kitayama. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think? What are your thoughts on him? Because I'm really thinking about that might be a trigger pull for me.
Great number. And this is a guy who has played PGA championships, has played major championships in his career. I don't think like as many people maybe not like tapped into the golf community understand that Kurt Kitayama's been around. Like he's been around, played on a lot of tours, played a lot of good golf. That's why like even though he was plus, I think he was like maybe 80 to 1 or even plus 100 to 1 when he won the Arnold Palmer Invitational. A lot of people weren't that surprised because Kurt Kitayama has a lot of game, and 350 to 1, like to give him the same line as JJ Spawn, like that's pretty disrespectful. So I think that's a really good number. That's all it really is at this point in the board. It's just good numbers.
Yeah, that's pretty much. Well,
they wouldn't fucking be here if they were any good right now.
Yeah, you're probably right. It's not so much though recent track record, I think, right? Like they're factoring in what we are too. Is like where was the recent track record? And what have you done in big type competition,
right?
Level tournaments. And Phil,
great number.
He's done it.
Great number.
I mean, like, if we're going to talk about a major and Phil Mickelson's in it, if he's 300 to 1, I mean, I don't know how I just glossed over that before.
I don't know. Phil looks dead. Like, I see pictures of Phil. Oh, he is. I don't know. He looks like he needs to eat some food. He looks like he's about to fall over. And I know, like, it's been good for him. He needed to lose weight after he was, like, out of shape his entire career and now is, like, in shape for his 50s. Certainly a decision by Phil. He's looking frail. I don't know. Like, I don't know how the
Does
fuck
he even have the strength to get the ball to the
how
green?
that guy
Like,
came top 5 at the Masters is honest to God beyond me. It might be more impressive than Tiger winning. Like
that was an impressive, and that's the reason why that's why I'm looking at it more closer than I would if it were any other reason, any other case. Like at the Masters, I wasn't looking at Phil at all, but we were also kind of avoiding the live guys, which turned out to be more of a mistake than anything because a lot of the live guys did pretty well.
They did.
Phil did really well there, and they have something. I think they have something they feel like they need to prove when they're back in these tournaments. I don't know, man. Frail bones. We could. I could see him getting a top 20. I
could see the wind blowing him over this week.
I mean that too. Probably it's probably going to happen. But yeah, I don't know if you have anybody else, Jack.
I got 2 names. I got one bet in from down here. Harris English, 200 to 1.
Good God, man.
Harris English, 200 to 1. He's finally showed signs of life. T13 in his second to last start out. It was at was a team event. It was the Zurich Classic, but gained in 3 of the 4 major categories: putting, around the green, and on approach. Went on and did the exact same en route to a T3 finish in a designated event at the Wells Fargo Championship. Look, Harris English, I know he went through some struggles after that injury, but this was a guy who was right there at the U.S. Open a couple of years ago and has performed well in the Northeast in his career. Do I have concerns about the driver? Absolutely. He's lost in that category in 4 consecutive rounds. But the rest of his game, the short game has been there. That's been back for like 6-7 weeks now. The irons have started to come back the last couple of weeks. If he can just keep the driver to a neutral, I think he can hang in there once again if the rest of his game is working like it's been as of late. So I think 200 to 1 on Harris English is maybe my favorite number. I don't think it's my favorite bet, and I don't think he's the most likely to win, but 200 to 1 is really fair for Harris English. The other number that caught my eye, and I don't know if I'm going to get on it, but it's massive, is Abraham Answer, 300 to 1. 300 to 1 for Abraham Answer. He won the PIF Saudi International earlier on in the season, not all that long ago. I know he's been dog water for Live. I don't even know if he has a top 20 finish on Live this season. It's been bad. But 300 to 1 for a guy like Abraham Answer, who has the talent, who was a middle-of-the-pack PGA Tour player when he was still over here. He's got the same odds as J.J. Spawn and Nikolai Højgaard. What are we talking about here?
Yeah, what
a number, but considering how I already have Harris English, I probably won't get there, but I do think that's just way too big.
Is he just collecting a check over there, you think?
Yeah, let me go through his finishes real quick over on Live. I was just looking it up a minute ago because I wanted to be sure I said it properly. Yeah, here's his Live results so far this year. Since winning the Saudi International, he does have a top 20 finish. He has 1. 17th at Mayakoba, 28th in Tucson, 30th in Orlando, was T39 at the Masters, 20th in Adelaide, 47th in Singapore, and 28th in Tulsa. Might I add, this is out of 54 guys. Not been good.
No.
And we have no data from it. We don't know what he's been doing well. Gained off the tee on approach and with the putter at the Masters.
Maybe a top 40, nice plus money banger too. I mean,
that could be a good one. Harris English, I did take a top 10 along with, so maybe I should do the same with Answer.
You know who I do like a lot? Oh, these are all right. Let me shout out my dogs here.
Yeah, give your dogs a shout out.
Just for being in this tournament and usually betting them. Hoagie Buns.
Oh yeah.
280 to 1. I'm not going to get there though, but always kind of keeps himself in play if he gets hot because of the approach. So you never really know with him. Thomas Dietrich.
You think he's going to win a major?
No, I don't. I'm not betting him. I want to give a shout out to my dogs. That's all.
Yeah, shout out to the dogs.
Shout out to the dogs. 400 to 1 Thomas Dietrich. I do like Thomas Dietrich over plus 200 for a top 40 though.
That's a good number.
Yeah, I think with his consistency and kind of just he can hit it long. I mean, He can do that. So maybe a top 40 here. I like that. I think it was like plus 225 I saw it at on a book. Could have a better price. Like I said, mention that in the comments if you see a better price. Let me guess, Jack, we're not grilling this week.
No. We're not near water.
We're not near we're not putting the shrimps on the bobby this week.
No.
Yeah. No, we're not doing any of that. Prop bets. Got anything, Jack?
I do. I got a couple of first round leader bets. Let me pull them up.
Oh, all right.
That's really all I've gotten to. I do have a top 10 on Harris English, 12-1 as well. I might get in on Abraham Answer, maybe a top 40, depending on what his numbers are. Let me pull up my first round leader bets here real quick. I already locked in Brooks Koepka 35-1. Been the first round leader at the PGA Championship. This was a note I wrote in my notepad on my iPhone. Had to be in like the summer of 2021. It said, Brooks Koepka 2022 first round leader PGA Championship. Done it 3 of the last 5 years. He wasn't healthy. He played like shit last year. Now he's back. There's no way. 2 years ago, me would slap me in the face if Brooks Koepka was first round leader and I didn't have money on it. So I'm in on Brooks 35-1 to be the first round leader. I'm also in on Tommy Fleetwood 60-1 first round leader. And then I took a shot way down the board with what number did I get it at? Harris English as well. First round leader 100-1. So I got those three. I got Brooks at 35-1, Tommy Fleetwood at 60-1, Harris English 100-1 first round leader.
You know what I wish was in this tournament this week?
Tiger?
Okay, yes. But it just makes everything better with Tiger in it. And outside of Will Zalatoris, because of course we wish he was in it too. He's the one name out of the top 100 that's not in top 100 in the world that's not in this tournament. Now all 99 out of 100 outside of that are in this tournament, but Kevin Yu, I wish Kevin Yu. It's so random, but I was looking at his numbers. I'm like, shit, he's good in a lot of key stats to fit here. And then the T7 at Pebble Beach and
dude, I get them all confused. It sounds probably terrible, but there's Kevin Yu, there's Brandon Wu, and Dylan Wu.
Right, they're all like that. That's why I thought he was in the tournament, dude. Because I swear, aren't those some? There's one or two of those others are at least in this tournament, right?
One of the Wu boys is in here. I think it's Dylan.
There's a Brandon Wu. Brandon Wu's in it.
I don't even fucking know. It's another
Wu. I'm telling you, they do get confusing. But Kevin Yu was one that stuck out to me. Not Brandon Wu, but Brandon Wu I've seen on other people's cards as a long shot for some reason. So who the hell knows? Who the hell are you and who the hell knows? Which you are you? I do have another prop bet. I didn't go crazy so far yet, and I will tweet out some because that's just I'm going to dive in deeper as we get off air because I get more obsessive as we get closer to the tournament. And then, yeah, I might be losing out on some better odds there if I'm on the sharp side of things, which can happen, but sometimes I'm against the grain anyways. But the other prop bet that I have is a DK boost on DraftKings, which before I get there, shout out to our sponsors, Bet Rivers. Promo code on tap if you go to Bet Rivers to get an up to $250 deposit match. What are you waiting for? Because that's free money, a $250 deposit match at Bet Rivers using the promo code on tap. But we like to shop around a little bit sometimes because sometimes you find some hidden gems. So I'll shout out DraftKings real quick with the boost. I like Rory, Finau, Homa, and Jason Day to make the cut. Boosted from plus 110, I believe, to plus 200. I put a half a unit on that prop bet right there. Even though maybe they're trying to trick us. And the reason why they have this boosted is because they just expect Jason Day without a, warm up and all that to just kind of shit the bed after the win. And that could be too. Or you could have Max Homa not be competitive in a major again. That could happen too. But I think that's a good group of four there that do a lot of things very well that fit this course that I'm really open to trying a half a unit there. Speaking of half a unit, the outright play that I did put a half a unit on was Scotty Scheffler at that 10-1 number, the boosted plus 300 boost to get it to 10-1. Those are kind of my 2 half unit bets. Dietrich, not sure how many units I put on that, but for the top 40 anyways. But Jack, yeah, any other prop bets before we get to the part we always look forward to, and that's the one and done?
Nope, that's all I got. I got those 3 first-round leaders, Harris English, top 10. Might be it.
All right. Sounds good to me. I think that's a good way to hedge too. If you are taking those first round leaders, like a Fleetwood, because let's be honest, neither one of us expect him to win this thing. So yeah, I like the first round leader call. One and done. I don't even know who I have available because I did not check the sheet this morning. Jack, who you got? It's your pick. You're winning. You're in the lead.
I am still in the lead. It has gotten a little narrower though since Rory missed the fucking cut at the Masters. That was not great. And
yeah, but I went with Will Gordon last week and fucked me.
Yeah, you did. You did. That was also on you because you got it in a little late. So
yeah, true.
That one's kind of on you, bud. I had Matt Kuchar. He came 43rd, so he didn't do me that much better. I got to go with a big dog here. I've already used Rory. I've already used Scheffler. I thought about using Xander Schauffele, but I'm going to hope I'm still in the lead at the U.S. Open at the Los Angeles Country Club because I'm probably going to use him there. I'm going Jon Rahm. I don't know when else I'm going to use him this year. If I'm going to be using Xander at the U.S. Open, I probably won't use Rahm at the Open Championship. Yeah, I'm going Jon Rahm this week. Haven't used him yet.
Damn.
Believe it or not.
You might have left me an opening because I couldn't use Rahm this week anyways.
You've already used Rahm.
Right. I haven't used Scotty though, have I?
You have not used Scotty, I don't believe. No, you haven't used Scotty. You've used, out of the big dogs, you've used JT, Sung Jae, Matt Fitzpatrick, Hideki, Hatton, Day, Rahm, and Cantlay. So yeah, you have Scotty left if you want to use him.
But then this is a spot where we could use Brooks or somebody, right?
I was going to go with Brooks if I didn't go with my 3 that I was thinking about were Rahm, Brooks, Xander.
That is such a tough decision because now I'm like, I might second guess myself. I was so ready to just hit the hammer on Scotty, but
not a bad pick. It seems like his floor is so good.
I know, but realistically, I only have 2 more opportunities to use the live guys, right? So, no, you don't have to. I know that, but I mean, I am betting Cam Smith too. I think his floor is very high. Fuck it. Let's go with Cam Smith.
All right, Cam Smith it is.
Yeah, I like that pick, actually.
I like it as well.
So there we have it. One and done. You took Jon Rahm, and I am on Cam Smith. Let's get this money, dude. Can we get an outright?
Dude.
I ask this every time.
You've hit 2 at least this year. I've hit 1 Max Homa live bet. That's it for me in 2023. It's been brutal, brother. It's been brutal.
It's tough, man. I wanna address this real quick though before we get out of here. And that's the ups and downs though. That's the ups and downs like we were talking about with the outrights. But Laz was asking, winning number. He said 11 under, or is that not low enough? And then he's asking what the winning score will be. I kind of said I think between 5 under and 9 under, but that's a pretty general. Jack, what's your prediction?
I'm gonna say 8 to 9. 8 to 9 will be the winning score this week. I think par is going to be very friendly. I did hear Brooks, which I don't know how you want to take this, honestly. I kind of just left it as a neutral, but Brooks was on Pardon My Take today, and they asked him how the front 9 went, and that was in the 30-mile-an-hour winds that I was mentioning, and he said he shot 3 over on the front 9, and it wasn't bad. Now,
really? Wow.
Now, to be fair, I don't know if the winds are going to howl at 30 miles an hour again in this tournament or at all. I don't know if that's going to happen. 30 miles an hour is a lot. But that kind of shows you the mindset. If the wind picks up, I really feel like guys are going to be so happy with par on this course. So yeah, I think 8 or 9 will probably win it.
I don't hate the call. I really don't. I think 30-mile-per-hour winds is nuts. I mean, that's like you're getting borderline tornado territory right there. But um, no, yeah, 8 to 9 under. I like the call right there. Definitely. We always appreciate you guys tuning in, every time. And it's been a minute. We just returned after 3 to 4 weeks off. We've had some time off here. I went on a trip. I was pretty much gone for 2 weeks, and then don't remember what happened the week before that. That was probably my fault too, or this past week. But I will say we are going to be consistent after this. We are back full swing, doing the show every week, and probably most likely on Tuesdays, then Wednesdays, and we might do a double bird. Or not double bird. Didn't mean to give you the middle fingers there, but double show with the Tuesday and the Wednesday shows because we like some final wrap-up thoughts. But I'm hoping we can pull out a winner here at the PGA Championship. You're due, and it sounds like we have some of the same bets here as far as outright. So I always love that because it means that we have an opportunity to both hit an outright together. Jack, with that said, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Stoked for the week. I put in a lot of research figuring out Oak Hill Country Club. I dove into a lot of players, so I'm hoping it finally pays off, man. Because like I mentioned, it's been a tough 2023, but the majors are the sweetest. It's been a couple of years since I took down a major, so I'd love to get one this week and kind of get things just back on track as we are fully in the midst of major championship season now as the summer is on the horizon, brother.
It's here, baby. It's here. It's here. And, we have a pretty big tournament, at least to us, semi-locally here with the BMW Championship to look forward to. A little bit closer to you than to me, but it's close to me because we had on somebody very special, very tied in to the BMW Championship. And you wrote a very nice article today. If you want to shout that out real quick too.
Yeah, absolutely. There are art submissions going on for a mural that's going to be created at the BMW Championship. You do have to be a student, kindergarten through 12th grade, senior in high school, in order to participate. But if there's a listener out there interested in creating a mural for the BMW Championship, it's going to be put inside the tunnel that's going to lead all the fans from the Olympia Fields metro station over on into the course. So you're going to have to pass through the mural in order to get over there. And they highly encourage people to make it golf based and to kind of design it off of some of the great memories that the BMW Championship has created over the years, such as John Rahm and Dustin Johnson going back and forth and draining like whopping 50-foot putts. That was still one of the best conclusions to a tournament that I've ever seen. First off, for DJ to make that first one and force a playoff, and then Rahm to bury a 66-footer for the win. It was an unbelievable moment. Also, you got to think about the 2003 U.S. Open at Olympia Fields where Tiger Woods took it home, and there's an iconic picture of Tiger walking with just a sea of spectators behind him that'll go down in the history books. So if you want to design your mural based off of that, yeah, go ahead. They're highly encouraging for you all to base it off of golf memories and history of the BMW Championship. So looking very forward to that event coming back to Olympia Fields later on this summer, Joey.
Yeah, me too, man. And I just brought that up because you mentioned how we're pretty much in full swing here to the summer, and that's kind of what I think of, right? We're getting close to that time, and Laz says here Olympia Fields outside of Chicago. Yeah, absolutely. And that's Kyle's home course, basically.
August 5th through August 10th, second leg of the FedEx Cup playoffs, a big event. Patrick Cantlay's won it back-to-back years. The top 50 in the FedEx Cup are going to be on hands, along with golf's biggest superstars, John Rahm, Scotty Scheffler, Rory McIlroy. They're all going to be at Olympia Fields this fall, so make sure to go purchase tickets to that event. We're both going to be there, I know.
Yeah, we are. Making it a point to be there. Absolutely. Laz says here, nice show, guys. Appreciate you jumping in. As always, great show, Jack. Hour and a half in.
Okay.
A lot of good stuff to look forward to, though, as far as the golf season rolling around. It's great that we're back. It's great to have the second championship, or major, I should say, championship of the PGA Tour's 2023 season, or 2023 season, however you want to look at it, because you got the fall swing, which you need to get back on track. Now that we are in 2023, I think it's about time. I think you're due. We're going to hit. With that said, sorry, go ahead, Jack.
I hope so. It's about damn time.
It's damn time. We are brought to you by OnTap Sportsnet. Go to ontapsportsnet.com to check out all your Chicago sports needs. Go check out Jack's articles, especially the great work that he's done with golf. I mean, that's what he does. That's what this guy does. He's a machine. Pumps out the golf articles every week, course breakdowns, favorites, betting picks, all that. So, yeah, do that. And check out the rest of the content we have. Cubs, Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks. I start with the Cubs because that's my team. I'm all Chicago sports, but not really the White Sox. Blackhawks, too. I do like the Blackhawks. Bets. Go to OnTap Bets on Twitter, but check us out at Golf on Tap, or it's actually OnTap Golf on Twitter. I always screw that up. We are Golf on Tap, Jack. You can find Jack at Jack Bushman 2. You can find me at Joey Knows Nothing. With that said, we are out. Good luck with your betting picks. Crack them, lock them, and fuck them.